My name's Ryan. I was 21 that summer. Just a broke college kid taking a part-time internship at this indie bookstore cafe on the edge of town. I didn't expect anything from the job. Just free coffee, quiet shelves, and maybe enough tips to put GA. Then I met her. Her name was Laura. She ran the place. Late 30s maybe? Graceful in this grounded, effortless kind of way. She had these calm eyes, gray, with something deep behind them, like they'd seen more than they let on. She didn't talk much, but when the first day, I accidentally burned the espresso shot. I expected her to snap at me, but she just tilted her head and said, "You?" Soft. At first, it was just the little things. She'd correct my posture when I carried boxes. Brush her hand over mine when handing off a towel. Small, forgettable moments, unless you paid attention. One evening, we stayed late after close. The lights were low. The music was some soft old jazz station she liked, barely audible over the hum of the cooler. She offered me a chair across from her, a warm cup of tea I didn't ask for. "You ever read The Little Prince?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "It's about, I don't know, being lost and seeing clearly." She smiled. "It's about choosing what matters. You're still figuring that out." I nodded, but the air between us changed, thicker, slower. She wasn't talking about books anymore. She looked at me in this quiet way, like she was seeing past the surface. Then, out of nowhere, she reached out, gently fixed the collar of my hoodie, let her hand linger for half a second longer than needed. I should have said something, but I didn't. And she didn't either. We just sat there, in that small silence that said more than anything spoken. That was the night I realized I wasn't just working for her. I was getting pulled into something quiet and warm and dangerous. Something neither of us had named yet. After that night, nothing between us was said out loud. But everything had changed. She started asking me to stay a little later. Said she needed help closing out the register, restocking the back room. It was always something small, easy. But it kept me there after the lights dimmed and the customers left. I didn't mind. I liked those moments when the world slowed down. One night, we were sorting through old book donations. Dusty paperbacks. Yellowed pages. I cracked a joke about one of the covers. Some cheesy romance novel with wind-blown hair and shirtless pirates. She laughed, the kind of laugh that starts small but grows into something real. She leaned back against the shelf, wiped her eye, and said, "You're trouble, you know that?" And she said it with that look again. That soft, unreadable expression that lingered too long. I shrugged. "Guess you're stuck with me." She didn't answer. Just watched me for a second longer than she should have. Then went back to sorting. But I caught it, the way her hand shook just a little when she picked up the next book. Later, we were locking up. I was grabbing my bag when she said, "Ryan, you want a drink?" It caught me off guard. "Like now?" "Yeah. Just one. Upstairs." I didn't know she lived above the shop. The stairs were narrow and creaked under our steps. Her apartment was quiet, warm. Books stacked in corners. A small lamp on the table lit the room in amber. She poured 2 glasses of wine. We didn't talk much. Just sipped, sitting across from each other. The silence between us didn't feel empty. It felt full. Heavy in a way I didn't know how to name. At some point, she asked, "Do you ever feel like you're supposed to want more, but don't know what that means yet?" I nodded slowly. "All the time." She looked down at her glass. "I used to know who I was. I used to have a map. Now it's like..." She trailed off. Didn't finish. She didn't need to. We were quiet again, and then she stood up and crossed the room. She didn't touch me. Didn't lean in. just stood in front of me, close enough to feel. Her voice dropped. I'm not asking you for anything, Ryan. I just needed someone to see me. And you did. I swallowed. I see you, I said. Quiet. Real. She gave a small, tired smile and turned toward the window. We didn't kiss. Not that night. But something had shifted. Something delicate and impossible to undo. It was raining when it finally happened. Not the dramatic kind, just a soft, steady drizzle that made everything feel slower, quieter. I'd stayed late again. She said she needed help moving some boxes in the back, but we both knew that wasn't the reason. We barely spoke. We just moved together, like the silence had become its own kind of language. When we finished, I followed her upstairs without needing an invitation. She didn't look back. Just walked ahead, barefoot on the creaky stairs, like she already knew I would. Her place smelled like cinnamon and old books. The lamp was on again, same warm light. The rain tapped gently against the windows. She poured us tea this time. Sat beside me on the couch instead of across. Our knees touched, just barely. For a while, we just sat like that, listening to the rain, holding warm mugs that neither of us drank from. Then she spoke. Do you ever think about moments before they happen? Like, you know you're about to make a choice, and everything after will be different. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She set her cup down, turned toward me slowly. Her eyes searched mine, soft, cautious, afraid. I don't want to be reckless, she said. Then don't be, I replied. She took a breath, closed her eyes for a second, then leaned in. And I didn't stop her. Her lips brushed mine just once, like a question. I answered with another kiss. Then another. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't heated. It was gentle, careful, full of that tension we'd been carrying for weeks. Her hands moved to my face like she was memorizing it. Mine settled at her waist, light and steady. When we pulled apart, we didn't say anything. Didn't need to. She rested her forehead against mine and whispered, I don't know what this is. Neither do I said. But it doesn't feel wrong. She nodded. Just a small motion. Then she leaned into me, curling up against my side. That night, we didn't go further. We just stayed there, quiet, breathing, wrapped in something unspoken. Something fragile. And when I left, she walked me to the door. But this time, just before I stepped out, she whispered, If you come back, come because you want to. Not because I asked. I looked at her, really looked at her, and said, I already do. Then I stepped into the rain and didn't look back. After that night, something shifted. We didn't talk about it, didn't name it, but the air between us changed, warmer, heavier, like a song stuck between two notes. I started showing up more, always when I knew he was gone. Sometimes she texted. Sometimes I didn't wait for a text. I just went. And somehow, she was always there, like she'd been waiting. We made a habit of pretending. Pretending I was just helping out. Just dropping by. Just hanging around. But we both knew better. We never rushed anything. It wasn't about the rush. It was the slow parts. The stillness. Afternoons on her couch, a blanket pulled over us. Her leg touching mine. Her fingers tracing small circles on my hand, while a movie played in the background that neither of us watched. She'd lean her head against my shoulder. Sometimes she'd laugh at something dumb I said about school. Sometimes she'd just close her eyes and breathe me in. And the kisses? They weren't wild. They didn't ask for more. They just happened. In the kitchen, while she stirred tea. In the hallway, by the door. Once, out back on the porch, while the sky turned soft and pink. It was never planned. But it always felt right. Like we were stealing time from something that didn't belong to us, but didn't belong to anyone else either. One night stands out. She had music on, something slow, something old. She was in a loose sweatshirt, sleeves tugged over her hands. We were sitting on the couch again, close. Not touching. Not yet. I told her how I didn't want to do what my dad did. How construction wasn't me, even if it's what he expected. How I felt like I was always pretending to be someone I wasn't. She didn't interrupt. Didn't try to fix it. She just looked at me, really looked. Then she said, "You make me feel like I'm still more than just somebody's mom." And it hit deeper than I expected. "You are?" I told her. "You're so much more." She kissed me then. Longer. Slower. Her hands cupped my face like she needed to feel something real. And I let her, because I did too. But even in that warmth I felt it. The edge. Every time we touched, we were getting closer to it. That invisible line we kept pretending didn't exist. We hadn't crossed it fully, not yet. But it was there. Waiting. And eventually, we would. We never mentioned Don. That was the one rule, unspoken but solid. In this space we built, he didn't exist. But I started to feel the pressure anyway. Like every kiss, every smile was something borrowed. And the due date was coming. One afternoon, I was sitting on the couch, watching her make tea. The light was soft through the window, dancing on her hair. She moved slowly, peacefully. And I realized I didn't want it to end. But I knew it had to. We were on borrowed time. Every glance, every laugh, it was all a quiet gamble. Then, one day, she turned to me with something different in her eyes. "You know this can't last, right?" I nodded quietly. "I know." She looked down at the floor, then back up. "I don't want anyone to get hurt," she said. "Especially not Don. We've already gone too far." "I know," I said again. "But I don't regret it." "Me neither." And then silence. Not heavy. Not sad. Just full. Like we both finally said what we were trying not to. That week, we saw each other twice more. Both times soft. Warm. Like a goodbye we weren't saying, but feeling. We kissed slower. Held each other longer. Smiled a little more gently. And when I left her house for the last time, she didn't walk me to the door. She stayed curled up on the couch, blanket wrapped around her shoulders, legs tucked beneath her. "You're gonna do something good with your life, Josh," she said. "I know you will." I stood there for a moment, caught between staying and walking away. "And this," she added, voice low. "Whatever this was, it mattered to me." I nodded. "It mattered to me too." Then I opened the door myself, stepped out, and closed it behind me. That was the last time I was ever in her house alone. After that, silence. No texts. No visits. No lingering glances. Just space. Dawn came back from Chicago, and everything returned to normal. Or at least, it looked like it did. We never talked about what happened. Not him. Not me. Not her. But every time I sat beside him, working on assignments, I remembered. Every quiet step down the hallway. Every breath we shared in a room he called home. Every piece of something I didn't understand until it was gone. She disappeared into the background. If she was home, I didn't see her. Sometimes I'd hear her voice upstairs. Sometimes I'd catch a glimpse of her walking past a doorway. But no looks. No secret smiles. Just space. I understood. That chapter was over. Whatever we had, however short, however impossible, was delicate. And dragging it into the light would have ruined everything left standing. She had a life. A son. A home. And me? I was just a college kid, caught in a moment that didn't belong to me. But I'll be honest, I still thought about her. As much as we needed each other in that moment. We both knew where the road ended. Still, the silence left a mark. A week passed. Then another. One Saturday afternoon, I stopped by Don's place to grab a notebook I'd left behind. He was at the gym and told me to let myself in. The door, as always, was unlocked. The house felt still, familiar in a way that made my chest ache. I walked into the kitchen, reached for the notebook on the counter, and heard her voice behind me. "Josh?" I turned. She stood at the bottom of the stairs, hair tied back. No makeup. Hoodie and leggings. Tired, but kind. "Hey," I said. My voice was softer than I expected. She nodded. "How have you been?" "Busy," I said. "You?" "The same." A pause followed. That same silence we'd gotten used to. But this time, it didn't feel heavy. It just felt honest. "I wasn't sure I'd ever see you again," she said. "I didn't think I would either." She walked over slowly, leaned against the counter across from me. Arms crossed. Eyes on the floor. Then back up. "I've thought a lot about what happened." "So have I. I just want you to know. I'm not ashamed of it. I don't regret it." I nodded. "Me either." She took a breath. "We needed something," she said. "Maybe we didn't know it at the time, but we did. And I'm glad it was you." I looked at her and said, "I'm glad it was you too." We stood there, just a few feet apart, everything unsaid filling the space between us like a quiet goodbye. "I'm not someone who does things like that," she said. "And it scared me, how easy it felt with you." "It felt easy," I said, "because it was right. For what it was." She gave a small smile. "Yeah, it was." Another pause. But this one felt calm. Peaceful. "Don doesn't know," she said. "And he never will. That matters to me. I'd never tell him," I said. "Ever. I know." She stepped forward, touched my hand, just for a moment. A final gesture. A quiet thank you. "Take care of yourself, Josh." "You too, Pamela." And that was it. She stepped back. I grabbed my notebook and walked to the door. I didn't look back. Didn't say anything else. I got in my car. Started the engine. And you know what? I didn't feel heartbreak. I didn't feel broken. I felt settled. Like whatever this thing between us had been. It ended the only way it could have. At the right time. In the right way. No drama. No begging. No goodbyes in the rain. Just something rare. Something beautiful. Something untouched by the outside noise. Tucked away in time. Where the world couldn't reach it. It never happened again. We never talked about it. Never brought it up. But sometimes, when I drive past her street, or hear one of those old songs she liked, I think about those days. And I smile. Because I knew her. The real her. And for a little while, she knew me too.